So we're going to go ahead and get started. I would love to introduce Angela. Is it Koenig?
Koenig.
Koenig. I always say it wrong. I always want to say Koenig. Yeah. So Koenig. She's actually a registered nurse who I met back at the beginning of the year, and I was all about picking her brain. We sat down, and I just like, I want to know, and so, because I'm such a researcher, left that conversation with her, and I'm like, okay, I'm just digging into everything that I could find, because I highly suggest that everybody here do that, and I think a lot of us here do that, which is why we're here, because we're interested in learning. And I'd love to talk about, Weston A. Price's philosophy is that we teach, we teach, we teach. So the things that we learn are never meant for us to just solely keep to ourselves. They're actually meant for us to be out there sharing. So for all the friends and the family members who couldn't be here this evening to learn this information, I highly suggest you take in as much information as you can, and then please share that. And then also share with, Angela and I are happy to have conversations with anybody too that's, again, just wants to have a little bit more information, or we can direct you to some great resources, which I'll also share some of that too. And we thought we'd do this really informally this evening, so we're open for having dialogue. So if there's questions that come up, or if you've had some experiences or anything like that, please feel free to share, because that's what makes this really interesting for all of us. I know both of us will share some testimonials too, and actually I had asked Angela if she would open that way and just share her story, because it's very powerful, and I think one that many of you can relate to. So with that, I'm going to introduce Angela.
Hello. So like she said, I'm Angela. I am an RN. I've been a registered nurse for 6 years, and I have been kind of researching natural holistic ways of health, and that is because of some things that I learned when I was in Australia, learning about their healthcare, and some things that I learned personally from my own personal health journey. And I've actually been researching CBD specifically for about 3 years now, and I started looking more into it last fall for my own personal use. I actually was looking for some answers for my anxiety, my depression, and some mood swings that I was dealing with. Basically, postpartum depression is what I was struggling with after the birth of my last daughter. So I really didn't want to go back down the slippery slope of the antidepressants and the different medications, because I had done that in the past, and it led me to where I was just kind of on, it was like a spiral. One medication led to another medication, led to another medication, because of the side effects of the first medication, to where I actually, before I stopped the medications, I was on 13 different medications. And I had gotten off of them using diet and nutrition, and I didn't want to go back. So I started looking into CBD for use for anxiety and mood swings and whatnot, knowing that I'd read lots of things about it helping with autoimmune disorders, but I was thinking of people with very serious autoimmune disorders like MS, people with cancers, seizures, and that's the kind of basis of what started my research. And then I started learning how it could help with mood. So I started taking, I did some trialing around, and I tried a few different CBDs. They didn't do a whole lot for me personally until I tried a water-soluble one. And that one worked within just, moments actually. I felt lighter within about 20 minutes. I felt like I had a rose-colored pair of sunglasses to wear to look at life through. And I loved that. So I kept taking it. By day 2, I felt like I had my joy back, basically. Like I wasn't in this really dark place that I had been in for quite some time, that was actually a scary place for myself to be as a mother. So it was pulling me out of that. So mind you, I actually was living with 4 different autoimmune disorders, and that's something that I'd struggled with for around 10 years. I lived in constant pain every single day, so I'll just tell you that I'd been diagnosed with fibromyalgia, irritable bowel syndrome, celiac disease, and then they told me I had an unknown autoimmune disorder and that my body was just sick and fighting itself. And I thought, boy, that's crazy, because I wasn't born this way. I feel like there should be a way that I should be able to fix my body, and I should be able to feel better and not be sick for life. But they had basically taught me, well, no, you're sick, and you're not going to get better. So I accepted that, because it was hard to live in pain like that all the time, and I had to accept it as my way of life. But 3 weeks into taking this CBD oil, and I realized, oh my gosh, my pain is about half what it has been for the past 10 years. And I just kept taking it, and I increased my dosage a little bit because I was like, this is like magic in a bottle. Like, what is this stuff? And I started researching it even more than I had before, and I was sleeping better. I think I had insomnia for 20 years. I was sleeping better. I ground my teeth at night, and so my jaw would hurt all the time, and I would have daily headaches. My jaw doesn't hurt anymore. I don't have daily headaches anymore. I don't have migraines that I used to have several times a month for many years of my life. I feel like all of these symptoms that I was struggling with are just going away to where I don't feel like I actually have autoimmune disorders anymore. So that got me very excited, and I thought, I want everybody to be able to feel this good. Like, I had accepted that I just had to be sick for the rest of my life because that's what they taught me. And I learned that I can use nutrition to heal my body and basically allow my body to heal itself, because we were born with the innate ability for our bodies to heal themselves. But if they're not in a balanced state, then they cannot do that. Did you want me to kind of tell about the endocannabinoid system?
Well, let's start out. How many people in here have heard about any of the legalities going on with the state of Ohio? Yeah, so yes, and I think so many of you have some valid concerns about that. So we wanted to address that from a perspective of, because again, the state of Ohio would like us to believe that it's an illegal substance and that we shouldn't be using it, we shouldn't be dispensing it. So I just asked Angela if she would share just a little bit about that so we can kind of debunk that myth.
How much did I take?
Yeah, how much, what kind of dosage did you take?
When I first started doing it, I was taking, so the dosage on the one that I was taking is 1 milliliter per day. So I was actually doing 2 milliliters per day. So 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening. But after about maybe 6 or 7 months of that, I started cutting back, and I only do half of a dose a day, and that kind of maintains what I had, what I found. What's that?
How much is a milliliter?
It's a milliliter, like
5 milliliters.
the kind that I was taking has a dropper that fills up to 1 ml. So I just took 1 dropper full, 2 different times a day. What's that?
There's 5 milliliters in a teaspoon.
Yeah, there's 5 milliliters, so it's
So
a
that gives
fifth.
her
A fifth of a teaspoon. Yes. But regarding the legalities of it, basically kind of what's happening is we're kind of cutting down what Big Pharma is doing. So they're scared because we're kind of helping people to create solutions, and there's actually been a 50% decrease in prescription drug usage. So they're kind of fighting back, and they're trying to say that hemp and CBD is illegal in the state of Ohio. They're classifying it as that hemp and marijuana are the same thing, and they're trying to tell us that we are not able to possess it or sell it. But they're actually, what they're doing is they're misinterpreting the law. They're trying to make their own interpretation of it, but it's incorrect. And they're kind of using scare tactics, because they don't actually there's nothing that they're actually allowed to do at this point in time to take action.
To enforce it.
They can just kind of give us empty threats, basically. And there's also the 2014 Farm Bill created a pilot program for industrial hemp, so that industrial hemp can be grown and produced and sold. And any industrial hemp that falls under this Farm Bill is still actually in play. Since they're kind of arguing back and forth about the 2018 Farm Bill and they haven't put it into play yet, they kind of piloted it, grandfathered in the 2014 Farm Bill to cover us until the new one is in place. So most hemp is grown under that industrial hemp program, and it's still very legal in the state of Ohio.
Right, and they were calling that the pilot program, and because, like Angela just said, because the 2018 Farm Bill isn't in play yet, it's in lame duck season. So we are still falling under that. Yes.
So under that farm bill, Ohio's written into it, is it nationwide?
Yes.
Yes.
Certain states
No, it's nationwide.
then? Can anybody grow it?
Not yet.
No.
When the farm bill comes into play?
And the 2018 Farm Bill, yes, will open that up. And I don't know about anybody, I don't know if they'll put stipulations on it, but it's my understanding that anybody that wants to grow it agriculturally, because that's what the Farm Bill is for 2018, is to make it an agricultural product.
rather than a Schedule I drug, hemp will become an agricultural commodity so that it can be grown. But like marijuana is the female plant and hemp is the male plant, and they both have similar properties, but like the marijuana has the psychotropic effects, and hemp does not have that. It just has all of the healing effects.
But doesn't the marijuana does not have that effect if it's in that oil type substance? And I mean, you can get the marijuana chewies and marijuana oil just like CBD, but hemp CBD.
Yes, but the marijuana is the one that has the psychotropic effects, though. The
In
THC.
the oil form?
Yeah.
It still has THC in it.
Right.
Yes.
And you know, and so I know, I had talked to Marita, you had mentioned yours has just a very small amount. I know the state of Ohio has said it has to have 0.05% or less of CBD and is it 0.03?
No, it's
or is it
5% CBD by volume and 0.3
3
THC or less.
Or less, for it to be legal in the state of Ohio. So again, as long as the products that you have fall under that guideline, it's not illegal. So we wanted to just kind of talk about that because I know many people have, we're hearing all kinds of things, and if you're any kind of a health professional, massage therapist, or any of those, you're getting bombarded with these nasty letters from the state of Ohio saying, if you sell or if you're using, we can yank your license. Well, again, I know that they can't go after everybody, and unfortunately, it's unfair that people are made to feel like they can't share something that's really good with their patients.
Yeah, like people with real milk.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. So we all know how the politics work. So we're just playing the game, and so 0.05%.
No, it's 5.
Is it 5%?
It's 5%.
That's what I always get.
on
And it's
the
0.03%. Yeah. Yes.
And
Yes.
0.3%
3% THC.
I'm sorry, 0.03.
Yes.
5% CBD, 0.03 THC.
Yes.
Oh, that's a big difference.
It is
Yeah.
a big.
Oh, yes. Because basically, the hemp plant does not really have THC in it. There might be little trace amounts up to 0.03, but there's not actually THC in it, and that's the part that has the psychotropic effects that are often unwanted.
No.
Well,
I
people
haven't
do.
seen people
Yes,
actually. Do they?
people do actually.
People would be like tobacco and there's no effect.
Not like a psychotropic, not like that high feeling or anything, but it's just
For
the
the
healing
medicinal.
effect, basically. Because actually, so when you talk about, like when it comes to like absorption, if you're taking like an oil-based CBD or an oil-based, any type of tincture really, your body's only able to absorb about 3 to 5% of the plant. And when you're actually inhaling it, you get about 15 to 20%. But then I prefer to use a water soluble because the water soluble you're getting about 85 to 94% absorption. So you're utilizing as much of the plant as possible. And that's just because our bodies are water. So our bodies are about 80% or more water. So when you're trying to put oil with water, they don't mix. So that can't get directly into the cell like it can if it's water soluble, which allows it to get right into your cell. Silice. Yeah, Silice is water soluble. They're not the only one that's water soluble, but they're the one that we prefer.
Well, and we also have the testing too, that we know that it's also bioavailable for
Yeah,
at least 12 hours. Because Mayo Clinic actually did the testing on that.
Yeah, so that was another big factor actually because I did tons and tons of research when I started looking for CBD because there's so many brands out there and it's like, what do you get? What do you buy? What kind do I get? What form of it do I get? Is oil better? Is water better? I had no idea. So I just did lots of trial and error, intensive research and studies. And I did studies that I had found a doctor that was creating a water-soluble oil and it showed that you get the absorption quicker and you absorb so much more of it. But then on his graph, it was only lasting about 2 to 4 hours actually, and then it was coming back out of your system. So the man who created the Ultracell actually, he used a liposome technology that allows it to last longer in your system. So they did studies at the Mayo Clinic for 90 days, and they're not only getting the 85 to 94% absorption, but it's lasting a minimum of 12 hours. And at the end of the 12-hour mark, it was still completely consistent at that high rating to where it could be lasting 24 hours in your system. We don't really know. So that was a big factor for me, is that what form of it, which I decided water soluble was the best, and then how long it was lasting in your system was important to me, because that determines how much you'll be taking each day, basically. Yes.
Where do you obtain this at? What's your source?
Where do we buy the product from? So there are people like Kelly and I who are like independent ambassadors, and we can sell it hand to hand. There are a couple of stores that are carrying it. Is Amber's store is not open yet, is it? Okay. Like Garden Grove Holistic carries it. You can either get it like from somebody, and you can also, like, if you really love it, you can sign up to get it at a wholesale price, so you're getting it cheaper, and they'll just deliver it to your door. So that's something we can give like some literature at the end if you're looking for that.
Yeah, one of the things that I want to point out too that you were just mentioned too about the organic, so that would also be something as you're doing some research, you want it to be grown organic, and you also want it to make sure that the source is coming from the United States.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of products out there that the sources are coming from China. You have no idea what their processes are. The one thing about the hemp plant, it is a magnificent plant for cleaning up the soil. They actually use it in chemical spills areas. They use hemp because it grows very quickly, and it also scrubs the soil. You know, they may have to do
Like
several
heals the
plantings to
ground.
do that, to clean that all up. So obviously that's not something we would want to put in our systems. So it's great for other industrial uses, like, you know, building materials for our homes, or anything like that, but not for something, yes, that we want to put in our system. So just make sure that it's grown organically and from the United States. Those are, I mean, like I said, it's a beautiful plant, and I can't wait until, you know, we're actually able to grow it, because I mean, the many uses of hemp are a phenomenal thing. It'll open up the markets for a lot of people to, it'll create jobs and all kinds of things. Yeah, Mary?
When can we see people growing in Carolina? When does that take effect?
That will be after the 2018 Farm Bill is passed, but they're kind of discussing it still because there's different things within the bill that they haven't agreed upon yet.
That's not just the hemp portion.
Oh, right, so people in Ohio, it won't be for next 2019 or 20?
No, it just whenever they decide
Well,
to
I
pass
think
it.
that the lame duck season is only until the beginning of January.
Yeah,
So they have to
it's
make
only
a
until
decision
January.
between now and the beginning of January. And really, everything that I have heard, the hemp portion of the bill is not the issue. There are some other
It's the
issues.
food stamps and
Yes.
different
So
programs.
people in Ohio could grow next year.
Yes.
Could start next year.
Yes, and actually, I've heard they are actually, and they meaning Forbes, the New York Times, big, are forecasting that the hemp industry by the year of 2020 is expected to grow at least 700%.
Yeah, they're projecting it to be actually like $1 trillion industry.
Right.
The hemp industry itself. So.
And this is just lots of other commodities, you know, clothing, building materials that are far surpass any of the stuff that we're using now.
I read
clothing,
that there's houses that are being made that are like anti-mold and like all of these that
Antifungal, yep.
are like cool. They kind of keep themselves cooled and heated a little better. They're better insulated, basically. I've read that the clothing made out of hemp is more durable than cotton. Hemp can be grown organically, and cotton generally is not. So that's another good aspect. A couple of my favorite aspects about the industrial side of hemp is one thing that I had read is that it takes 4 acres of trees to make the same amount of paper as 1 acre of hemp. And hemp obviously grows a
very
lot
quickly.
faster than a giant tree does. And you can make like plastic, like water bottles and things out of hemp that's biodegradable instead of filling landfills with toxic plastic.
Right.
Yes.
They're going to regulate what farmers can you sow that or plant it, aren't they?
Well, I'm not.
Everybody's going to be able, not every farmer's going to be able to plant hemp as a commodity.
We're not
Yeah, if
really
it's a
sure, but
commodity.
if it's an agricultural commodity, I don't think that there's much
They can't
can do.
regulate with who, and actually they're predicting that it will far surpass.
Grow it like corn and beans.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I don't know if you guys know this, but when George Washington was president, he actually threw people in jail for not growing hemp. Because if you had farmland, you had to grow hemp because it
10%
was
of it had to
10%
be.
of your farm had to be hemp because it was such a beneficial plant. So
The animals ate it.
Absolutely.
The meat that
Yes, so the
Absolutely.
animals were healthier and we were eating them, and it was in the soil everywhere. So the ground was healthier, the animals were healthier, our food was we were healthier basically. And that actually leads me to another point that I wanted to bring out is, I don't know if many of you have heard of the endocannabinoid system, but that is basically what is inside of our body that allows the hemp to work in our body. We actually create endocannabinoids. So those are like cannabinoids that our body produces endogenously inside of itself. And we can become deficient, actually, in cannabinoids. And when our body is deficient, we can replace those cannabinoids with phytocannabinoids, phyto meaning plant. So we can take a plant form of it. And actually back in 2004, it was discovered something called an endocannabinoid deficiency, where basically our bodies are not getting enough cannabinoids to recover and to balance and to heal themselves, and that is leaving our bodies sick. And 3 of the main symptoms from endocannabinoid deficiency are migraines, irritable bowel syndrome, and fibromyalgia. 3 of the things that I struggled with for many years and that a lot of our nation is struggling with. And to kind of better explain how this system works, like I said earlier, our bodies, when they're in homeostasis, which homeostasis is a big fancy word for balance, when our body is balanced, our bodies heal themselves. And like when I was in nursing school, they taught us all kinds of stuff that take our bodies out of homeostasis, but they never taught me anything to put my body back into homeostasis. And that's actually what cannabinoids are doing. We have receptors on every cell in our body. There are actually CB1 receptors in our brain and our spinal cord. And then there's CB2 receptors that are found in like the immune system, like the spleen and the thymus and the liver and different places in the body. And what happens is at those receptor sites, when a CBD comes and plugs into that, that brings that system into balance. So like an example would be like the immune system is run a lot on inflammation. So it's going to come in and it's going to reduce inflammation, but it's also going to increase anti-inflammatories so that that system is in balance. And when your body is balanced, it heals itself. And we're actually finding that there's lots of things that the doctors have taught us, that different areas of our bodies that cannot heal, that are not able to heal, and people's bodies actually are healing, and it's been quite miraculous. I would actually like to share my absolute favorite testimony with you guys. And that is a woman who joined our team to get this to her daughter, who was in about her mid-30s, and she was in liver failure. She had struggled with drinking throughout her life. It was something that she had dealt with, and it had shut down her liver to where she didn't have any more blood flow going through her liver. Her kidneys were shutting down, and her mom wanted a little bit of hope, so she started giving this to her daughter in February. She lived out in Colorado. She had a surgeon that she was going to. They were trying to get her off of the alcohol so she could get a liver transplant, which was a struggle for her. And her surgeon was anti-cannabis, anti-CBD. Don't take CBD. There's not enough research. It's not going to help you. Don't take it. She took it anyhow. She would take a dose in the morning, 1 to 2 doses in the morning, 1 to 2 in the evening. She said she could tell if her organs were swelling, and she would take another dose and it would calm that down. And she said that she felt better, so she just kept taking it. September, her surgeon had finally pulled enough strings to be able to get her on the transplant list. So she went in for some testing to get tested and prepared to be on the transplant list. And blood was flowing through her liver. And when she got the results from her physician, there was actually nothing wrong with her liver or her kidneys. So much so that her 70-year-old surgeon didn't go to sleep that night and just stayed up researching CBD and cannabis and ultrasound, wondering how this was possible. So that's something that the physicians are actually seeing, and they're saying, "Oh, we can't fix you. Your body is, irreplaceable at this point, and we have to replace your organ if you want to survive." And we're finding out that that's not true. Our bodies are capable of regenerating and healing themselves as long as we feed it the nutrition that it needs, which is similar to what Weston Price discovered.
Absolutely. Laura, do you have a question? I saw you.
Oh, yeah.
All kinds of questions.
First of all, I guess, what's the landscape politically as far as big pharma grabbing hold of it and then making dealers and shares like you guys and Rita, so they can't get a hold of it anymore?
Good point.
Is that a threat at all at this time?
Big Pharma, I feel like that's kind of what they're trying to do right now. Do you remember the name of that drug?
Epidiolex.
Epidiolex.
It's
They're trying to
actually-
produce like a
It's a synthetic
Synthetic
form of
form of
CBD,
it.
and they actually have it produced, but they have to get the classifications changed in order to market it. But it comes with a price tag of $32,500.
And once they pass that agricultural bill, they can't really stop the use of hemp. And basically, people aren't going to buy a $32,000 synthetic form of a plant when they can get the real plant for
Which
cheaper.
we all know how well we do with the synthetic.
And that's one thing that I really want to teach and educate people, and I want everybody to know and to understand and to teach everybody as much as I can is medicine. I've learned from being a nurse, they tried to teach me that plants were bad and that herbs were bad and that we shouldn't use them, and to use pharmaceuticals.
Because they work.
Yeah, pharmaceuticals are a synthetic version of the plants that do work. Plants are made to work perfectly with our bodies, and our bodies know what to do with plants. They know how to use them and to utilize them, and we just keep seeing more and more benefits as we're using cannabis and CBD. And I have doctors and nurse practitioners that are used to writing prescriptions. They write a patient prescription, and then they write another prescription and another one because of all the side effects. But with hemp and CBD, they're taking prescriptions away because our body knows how to use plants. And when you use something synthetic, that's why we're getting side effects, because our body doesn't know what to do with these synthetics. So they're like, I don't know what to do with this, so I'm just going to go stick it in the liver or
Can I address
pack it
what
around.
you just said there?
Yeah.
I think what you need to worry about more than the pharmaceutical companies is the FDA. Because I've been doing essential oils for 13 years, and we used to talk about them all the time. What it can do for you, I was introduced to it. Somebody told me it would help me with headaches and low-grade pain and digestive issues, and it'll help with my hot flashes. And I said, oh, give me that. I can't say that anymore.
Right.
Like this crowd. If there was somebody here from the FDA, they'd take my
Yeah, we can't make
distributorship
medical
right away
claims
from
in
me.
any
Right.
way.
And so the thing you have to be aware of is the FDA will step in there and say, oh, we're going to regulate this, and you can't say this, and you can't, because Big Pharma owns them, basically, really.
Right.
But in reality, we don't have to make medical claims because hemp is not healing any of these things. These are just simply side effects that we're experiencing from an imbalanced body, and this is bringing our body into balance, and our body is
doing
healing
healing.
itself.
Yes.
And that's how we've had to learn to change our terminology and say, peppermint helps
that's
with
what
this
oils do.
system of the
Yes,
body.
that's what
Yes.
plants do. They're made for our bodies, and they help our bodies to balance and heal.
And so that's what you need to,
The FDA don't agree with them.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yes.
Them are a bad bunch of buggers.
Yeah, but the FDA approves toxic drugs that are
Yes.
actually toxic to our bodies, and these
Actually, most
plants
of
are
them are
not toxic to our
pharmaceutical.
bodies.
Really.
they used to be
Yes.
pharmaceutical reps.
Right.
Oh.
And they now work for the government.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Okay, yes, Lori?
Okay, so at this time, like health practitioners, like chiropractors and massage therapists, they are able to sell this to their customers, correct?
They are able to. There are some that are choosing not to because, again, they're getting
Because
these
of the
threatening
threats.
letters, and so they're choosing not to. But many of them are using it personally, and because they're seeing great benefit.
I mean, we have
And we do have several who are anyway. So
We have a chiropractor on our team who has hundreds of patients that are using this every day, and these are people like myself. I am not willing to stop taking this.
Right.
I feel so good when I'm taking it, and I feel so crappy when I'm not taking it. I spent 10 years feeling awful. There's no way I'm going to stop taking this stuff, and that's how the patients feel. They don't want to stop taking it, so the doctors and the physicians that aren't afraid, they're just going to keep doing what they're doing because we are changing people's lives and we're giving them answers.
So are medical doctors also, do you know any medical doctors who are using this, or are they prohibited by the AMA to use it?
no, we know some.
No, we do know some that are using
Yep, and actually, I just posted a
They're
yep.
using it or recommending it?
Yes, and I just
Absolutely.
posted a video too from a pharmacist who is very much promoting this as well. And the story was he was talking about his mother who died from cancer about 13 years ago, which led him on the journey to start looking at other things. Now again, he's a pharmacist, so we know what he's basically dealing with. But he was open-minded enough to go, there are some other things out here. And so yes, he very much is an advocate for CBD today and openly recommends that. So yes, there are medical doctors, medical all kinds of practitioners that are actually recommending it. Yes.
Well, I agree with everything you're saying, except the goal of herbs and anything in nature is not to become dependent on
Sure.
it. So you shouldn't need to keep taking it the rest of your life.
Well, and I will say that, like, for example, I was taking 2 full doses a day when I first started, and now I'm doing half a dose a day. And I could tell if I didn't take it for a couple days, I was feeling really crappy when I first started. But now I think my body is just becoming balanced. And I also think that as it becomes more prevalent and grown across the nation, our bodies are going to start producing it more because it's going to be in the soils more, and there's going to be more of it available to our system, so that our bodies will be more balanced and able to recover themselves.
So you don't think in your case, in a year, in 5 years, or 10 years, if you took it, you wouldn't know any difference? If you stopped taking it, you wouldn't know any difference? You don't think you'll reach that point?
Oh, I think so.
No, I do think that. And our body is actually able to store cannabinoids. So if they're not needing them, they'll just store it and use it for later. So you don't necessarily need to keep supplementing your body. I do believe that there will come a time that I don't necessarily need to take it.
Will be balanced.
And I just believe that when it becomes more prevalent and it's grown more frequently, we won't need to supplement because it will just already be in the foods that we're eating, basically.
But even if it wasn't growing more frequently, once you balance your body, purge poisons out of your body and build your body shouldn't need any particular thing.
But there are toxins in our environment, and that's just, there's constantly, and that's kind of what that deficiency is coming from, is like our bodies are under so much stress, not only just like physical and emotional stress, but stress from what's in the environment, what's in the air, what's in our food, what's in our skincare products. I mean, everything. We're just kind of overloading our bodies, and it's kind of causing our bodies to just kind of work at this really high rate. And the CBD kind of comes in there and helps your body to kind of slow down and to balance and to heal and to recover. So we're constantly doing things to disrupt our body's natural balance, basically, and this is helping to bring it back into that balance.
One of the things too, was it last week in Kenton, we actually had a great conversation about this too, and there was a lady there who has been treating her daughter who has severe epileptic seizures, and she's been battling this for several years and are now using CBD very effectively for her treatments. And the doctor that she was working with gave a great analogy, which I thought was perfect. She said it's like having a glass of water. You need to always be filling that glass of, just kind of thinking that, okay, so this is your endocannabinoid system and how much the cannabinoids that we need in our system, and it's just like you're filling that glass. So it gets full, that's fine, and it's going to be filled. So maybe you don't need as much today as you did before. And also to point, the more out of balance and the more healing, the more chronic that we are, the longer it takes. And I know that's not everybody's favorite topic. You know, I talk a lot of this because I work with digestive health. And it's not everybody's favorite because we want to feel better like right now. We want, and that's great. And the body does know how to heal itself. It just takes some time to do. So the more chronic, the more severe we are, the longer that process is going to take. Not to say that you aren't going to experience good things and start feeling better along that journey. It's just we have to realize it's going to take a period of time. But I do believe that, yes, we'll be to the point where our cup is running full, quite a bit of the time. But again, to the points we just talked about, the more that our stressors are in our environment today, it's just, it is what it is. And we can just continue to make right choices and good choices and put in good quality. And
the better choices that we make for our body, the less CBD we're going to be needing, basically.
Absolutely. Yep.
Do you risk failing a random drug test taking CBD use?
It
depends on the product.
It depends on the product. So the ones that have the 0.03%, there is that chance, basically. But like Ultracell, for example, has 0.0, and it's been tested. There's actually a code that you can scan right on the bottle with your cell phone, and it will give you the batch numbers. You can click on the batch of your specific bottle, and it will tell you all of the testings for metals and THC and all those different things in your specific bottle. But with the 0.0%, if they're testing specifically for THC, you're not going to fail for THC, not from this product specifically. But I have heard of stories that people have taken one with the 0.03% or may have failed for THC before, so that's always something you want to disclose if you're about to take it.
And I also know military today, because they're still under
They still
old
test for
guidelines,
cannabinoids.
they are not allowed to use anything that has CBD in it, because yes, they do test for that as well. So
They see it
again,
as like
I'm
an
sure that will
enhancement.
change, but as of today, that's still the case, so. Somebody else had a question? Okay, yes.
Do you have any knowledge of the use of this product for psoriasis?
It helps a lot with skin conditions. And again, I'm not going to tell you that it's going to heal it, but I can tell you it's going to put the fire out.
That's a great term. And there's actually topical forms of it. Like the one that I take orally, I have used it topically many of times, but then we actually have one that is specifically a topical with like aloe, and there's helichrysum, black pepper, ginger, I think turmeric. There's
Lots of
really good
oils in it.
herbs in it. And like the helichrysum oil, that is a plant that can help regrow nerve endings. So that one's, that's really cool. But yeah, I have seen lots of benefits with cirrhosis, with the CBD specifically. So.
Well, I've had psoriasis for 50 years, and I've tried everything.
Everything.
Anyone's ever suggested to me, particularly the natural way.
Sure.
And I still have it. I have it over 60% of my body. And, so I am very much interested in something that I know that I can
Quiet that down.
Sure, it's going to give me some
Yes, that would be wonderful. And that is our goal, is to just help people find relief, especially from conditions that we thought, this is just my life. This is what I have to live with for the rest of my life. And we're finding that we actually don't. We just need a little better nutrition. And one other point that I did want to point out when you're looking at CBDs, aside from looking at where it's grown, looking at the absorption rate of it, how long it's lasting in your system, and did we talk about the processing?
That's a
So
good
there's
point.
two other factors that I like to consider is the processing, how the plant is processed. For example, if you're heating it up, that's a chemical process that can chemically change the plant. If you are adding like alcohol to extract the plant, that is chemically changing the plant. The ultracell specifically, they use CO2 compression. So they're basically just using a bunch of pressure to compress the plant, and that maintains the integrity of the plant as much as possible. Because the plant is created perfectly for us and works so perfectly with our body that you don't want to change it in any way. You want to maintain the integrity of the plant as much as possible. And then the last factor that I think is a very important factor is looking for a full spectrum.
Say that too, yeah.
There's other terms that they use, like a whole plant or the full spectrum, but that is basically that you're using the full hemp plant.
You want all the constituents
Yes.
that are in that
Correct.
oil.
Exactly.
There.
Because
Because
it works.
Leaves to roots.
Exactly. There's over
Works
400
synergistically
compounds
together, yeah.
that are actually found in the hemp plant. There's hundreds of cannabinoids, there's vitamins, there's minerals, there's terpenes, omega fatty acids, flavonoids. People are actually, from using full spectrum hemp, they're getting off of lots of other supplements. I personally use lots of supplements, and I could tell if I didn't take them. But the hemp plant is one of the plants found on the earth that has every nutrient that our body needs to sustain life. There are other plants that have that factor, but the hemp plant is one of them. But when you look at, there's some that use an isolate. So they're isolating one CBD. Out of the hundreds of CBDs and the 400 compounds that are in the plant, they're isolating one CBD, and I just don't think, that's just not best. You want every compound that plant has for your body. I do think that it is necessary to use the full plant, yes,
Well,
because you want
we
every
know,
component
yes, we know
of
how
that plant.
nature is. It grows a plant, and it's supposed to be in that
Perfect
form. And
for
that's what
us.
Big Pharma has done for a long time, is they know about a substance in a plant, and they'll pull that out and then expect it to work the exact same way as the plant that's growing in Mother Nature is.
But you
and
need
it
all the
just doesn't.
compounds together for a synergistic effect.
Right.
The leaves themselves are edible for people though. I think I heard that. That's
Yep, because that's, yeah.
health benefits, you don't need the whole thing.
There's not as much benefit because they'll research well, this CBD does this, so this is what you should use that for. But why not just use the full plant that has the full effect for your full body?
Yes, Kathy?
Yes.
Are there any contraindications for its use?
If you have had an organ transplant and you are taking immune suppressant drugs, because this is going to increase your immune system and potentially cause your body to fight against that. So that's really the only.
And then, if you're on taking high blood pressure medications or blood thinners, obviously those would be something that you should be monitoring.
You want to monitor, because it's going to relieve your body's need for some of those things, because it's going to bring your body into balance. And then when you take that prescription drug, like the blood pressure med or the blood thinner, it's going to pull your body back out of balance. So it can cause your blood pressure to drop. But it's not necessarily that the CBD is not causing your blood pressure to drop, it's balancing your body, and then the pill takes
So you need
it out
less of, right.
balance.
And so, and with the conversation about the woman in Kenton too, was sharing with her doctor, or her daughter with the seizures, obviously there are some serious medications that, again,
They have to
work with.
step her down
And she
off
also
of.
talked about, which I thought was really great, I did not know, but the hospitals with children, she said that you have to make sure that the doctor or the hospital allows you to use CBD, because otherwise that can be a big problem. So she said that's just something that you ask going in, because if they don't allow it, then don't be going there. Because again, this is taking away your own rights as a parent to administer a supplement to your child. So, yes.
I need to keep asking the same question about the farm bill, but was it open to all 50 states, do you know, or do we,
The 2014 or?
2018 farm bill where half will be?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's on a federal level.
It's that's a federal bill.
It's widespread, all states included?
Yes, this is what we've been waiting a long time for.
I know the farm bill covers everybody, but it sounds specifically, will it be designated to certain states and we don't know yet?
No, because that's a federal
It's across
farm
the
bill.
board. It'll go back to how it was before the 1930s when they decided to take it off.
When
And
they
again,
decided they
it's-
wanted to capitalize off of us.
Correct.
instead of
And again,
helping
it's the
us to be
same
healthy.
as they do today. They put certain language in a bill, and everybody thought they were voting for something that they weren't voting for, and that's how it got taken off, and we couldn't grow it anymore. Yes.
Among other things.
Yes. Yes.
So it sounds like if when you're helping someone to start on this oil, you across the board, you tell them to start with 1 drop a full day.
I do sometimes for like
depends.
younger
Yes.
people or for like more elderly people. I recommend doing half a dropper in the morning and half in the evening, so that I kind of.
Children.
Yes. So they
Well,
do
depending
say
how
on the
big the
bottle-
child is, though.
True, and they also say on the bottle, because it does have to be regulated that way. Oh, I just realized there's a fire out there. I'm like, oh, sorry, distraction. It does say on the bottle, again, it has to be regulated that way, that somebody under the age of 18 is not supposed to be using it. But we know it works very well.
However,
Right. And we also know that this particular product is also does really well with pets too. So if anybody has animals that they,
this stuff has saved my 18-year-old cat's life.
Yeah.
It saved a little kitty's life that she had as well.
Yeah.
It has helped I have a 13-year-old nephew who has real bad ADHD, and his mom is always back and forth from using Ritalin and using natural supplements, because some things work, some things don't. She doesn't like the Ritalin. That stuff just really is not good for your children. And since we started using the Ultracell, she has not had to use any Ritalin for him at all. It helps with his focus, with his anger and his rage issues, and he's bigger than me actually, but he does half a dose in the morning and half in the evening. And my 3-year-old son has very similar issues as my nephew, and would sleepwalk and not sleep well or go to bed at night. He gets 3 drops. Sometimes twice a day, depending if he's being wild or not. But he gets 3 drops, and my 1-year-old gets 1 drop. And it helps them. And I am very happy to be giving it to my children.
Yeah, and I have an 8-year-old granddaughter who my daughter and son-in-law have went back and forth with the school system for the last 2 years because they keep wanting them, and that's just their protocols. They want them medicated so that they're calmer in class, so they don't have to deal with. And so they've went through psychologists, changing diet, looking at all of those, using a lot of essential oils, all kinds of things that they've chewed, and things are helping, but it was never to the point. This summer we were on vacation for a week in Pennsylvania, and they were a captive audience. and again, mind you, when they come to my house, I do dose them, and again, using accordingly, appropriate. And I already noticed behavioral differences. about 3/4 of the way through the week, the adults were having a conversation, and I said, have you noticed, so I'm talking, her name is Ava. I said, have you noticed she's only had one outburst, because that was a regular occurrence. And it was very short-lived. It didn't drag on and last very long. And my son-in-law started to say something, and Ashley, my daughter, right away, she's like, stop, listen, you know. And again, she's one of these, I've taught her well, educate, research, do your own homework, you know, so that you become very educated. And since then, now school has started, and she's doing really well. She stays very focused. And I said, you know, if you have one of those moments where you feel like, okay, things are like, you know, because we all have stressors, you know, take a couple drops. And it just helps to calm your nervous system down. It allows you to now have the focus again. So it really, I mean, and it does that for adults as well. Because my daughter also she's been dealing with some anxiety. Also a lot of issues with her neck and back. And so we're really working on all of those things. Unfortunately, going through the insurance system, they only allow so many chiropractic visits. She's out of those. She can't go, you know, again, still has issues. So this has been just really, really helpful for her. So, you know, those are just personal stories, you know. And I mean, I have my own working through my hormonal changes and balances and trying to balance all of those things. And it's been doing a wonderful job.
Boy, it helps with hormonal changes, I tell you what.
It does. So, I mean, yes, we could go on and on and on and share lots of testimonies, you know, our own and others that are very close to us too. So I haven't found anything that it doesn't help. And that's the first question people a lot of times ask me. It's like, well, what's it good for?
Yeah. Anything that's inside of your body, basically.
Right.
So if it's in your body. One big thing that I do like to point out is that it also works directly on your brain, and it works in the nucleus accumbens, which is like the pleasure center of your brain. So people that are struggling with drug addictions, this can actually help them to overcome their addictions. And there's actually a facility in Texas that the producer of this, he has an addiction facility, and he actually has patients that are successful in overcoming their addictions by using this. And that's something that really like speaks home to me, because I worked as an addiction nurse for 3 years, and I had to leave because we weren't creating a solution for people. We were creating a system for them, and we were exchanging their illegal addiction with a legal addiction, and it was just a cycle. It was just a revolving door, and the patients were coming back and coming back and coming back, and I was like, we're not healing anybody. This is something that can work directly in your brain and help your body to balance and to heal so that you can actually overcome these addictions. And I think that's really exciting.
Yes.
What key phrases did you look on bottles to know that when it's the whole plant and that it was CO2 produced?
Either whether it's the full plant specifically, it will say that, or it will say full plant, whole plant, or full spectrum. So those are some keywords. Ours specifically says full spectrum.
And I don't think that
I don't know that it says CO2
on
compression on the bottle. I do believe ours, though, when you scan, a lot of them have these codes now that you can scan.
Which I know you guys said that too.
If you have like a QR scanner on your phone, then you can scan it. And those are just because of different regulations of different states. They require that we have that. So you can get on there and read about any bit of information you would ever need about that.
But also,
specific
if you
product.
also, and I highly recommend that everybody do some
Do research. Don't just go to the gas station and buy CBD. Please don't do that.
Again, you'd have no idea where that's coming from. But PubMed, so PUBMED.org is a great resource. They have tons of, so when, it was interesting when the doctor said, well, there's not enough studies and research out there. There is a lot of studies and research.
Thousands of studies,
Yes.
thousands.
And there is nothing, I've never found anything negative. Anybody's had anything negative to say. PubMed, so PUBMED.org.
Isn't it .gov?
Or, I'm sorry, .gov.
.gov.
Yes, sorry, yes, GOV, sorry.
In giving to a pet,
Mhm.
where you start with doses, or do you say?
They say 1 to 2 drops
Per 20 pounds.
20 pounds. So we actually do have a chart too that kind of guides that step, but you have to make sure not all of them. If a product has xylitol in it, you would not want to give that to your pet.
Artificial sweeteners are toxic to pets.
Right.
So ours does not have any artificial sweeteners. It just has the stevia leaf. So that's important to make sure of when you're purchasing one for your pet.
Right. But yes, phenomenal. I mean, and we know many people who are using it very successfully for even racehorses because they're very high-strung animals to begin with.
It
And
helps
using
them to
that
calm down, and it also helps, I know
Inflammation.
that are putting it on their legs afterwards to help with the inflammation
Inflammation.
and muscle recovery.
Right. So yes, I mean, just all kinds of just support. I mean, we, our fur babies are our fur babies, and and unfortunately with the world that we live in today, they unfortunately suffer from a lot of the same afflictions that we have, arthritis, and there's been cancer, a lot of cancer, kidney failures, liver. I mean, they just unfortunately have a lot of those issues that we have too. So this is just a beautiful thing that actually gives them some relief and puts out the fire and lets them have some mobility as well.
Yeah, mobility for sure.
And so as a water-soluble product, how do you administer it? Do you add it to a glass of juice
So
or
we,
water, or take
for
it
like
in?
adults, we take it underneath the tongue. You hold
As
it.
is.
Yes, just right underneath the tongue, and you hold it there, and that helps it get right into your bloodstream. My kids obviously do not hold it in their mouth. I just stick it in their mouth and they swallow it, but it's helping them. My cat, I put it in his food. My brother's dog, he's a very anxious dog and will literally jump through windows and has done so several times because he gets scared of storms. And I'll just put it on my finger and rub it on his gums, and that dog will just go sit down and calm right down, right when I give it to him. So in the mouth, there's some people that I had heard of that felt like they were getting an itchy feeling in their throat after they took it. So they would just drop it in a little bit of water and drink it that way, and they wouldn't have that effect.
And I've heard them doing that with children too, if
they won't take it.
Right.
Although my children love it. They love it. They get excited. My daughter, when she was a baby, she would kick her feet when I would get the little bottle out because she knew what it was. And I was like, this is a change. My parents used to hold me down to give me medicine when I was a kid because I hated it.
Well, it's funny, my 2-year-old grandson walks around going, I mean, his mouth is open, he's ready.
Yeah,
He
my
knows
kids
what's
chew
up.
on the bottle and everything. Can you open this up? I love this stuff.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, so it's very tasty. And that is a really nice because a chiropractor that we work with, he was using a CBD to help his patients. But patients had to be at a life or death situation to take the kind that he carried because it tasted so terrible. And I tried it once and it was awful, and I was like, I don't know how you got anybody to take that stuff because it was awful. But this one has you can get a lemon or a berry flavor, or there's different ones that have various flavors that you don't have to, it doesn't taste toxic or whatever.
Are chiropractors in general buying into this?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, actually, we went to a conference about 3 months ago, and they asked all of the medical professionals of any type, whether you're an anesthesiologist or chiropractor or nurse, whatever that was, to stand up, and I would say probably 2/3 of the room.
Oh yeah, medical professionals, because we are out there and we're seeing patients, and we're seeing how patients are not getting better and they're getting sicker and sicker, and the medical model that we're using, and this is something that is stopping that cycle and helping people's bodies to balance and to heal, and we're actually curing and healing our patients instead of just creating a system for them.
Right, and there actually is, we're making progress forward in our medical communities. There actually now is at least one school that I know of that is actually now teaching about the endocannabinoid system, which is a brilliant thing.
Yes.
On Saturday, I do a lot of farmers markets. I had a conversation with a pharmacist student. It was funny because at the end of the conversation, I said, I'm sorry, I get all geeked out about all this stuff. And she goes, that's okay, I get all geeked out too, and I'll just be right there with you. But she said, she was actually, had started hearing some things, so she was doing research on her own, and is just very intrigued with, again, it's not a system that we even knew about until the mid-1990s. And so
it's just another system in our body, just like the nervous system, the cardiovascular,
all the other systems. Yes.
It's just another system. They just didn't teach us about it, basically.
Right. But it does control all of the other systems.
It's like the nervous system, because the nervous system sends signals to every other system of the body, so it's connected with everyone, except it's even above that because it's speaking to every system.
Yes, it talks to the nervous system, which then communicates to everything else. So, yeah, that's a beautiful thing.
It's like the commander-in-chief of all the systems.
Yes.
Me again. I totally believe that every organ, everything in the body can regenerate. I really believe that. However, in my own situation, researching mitochondrial disease, we were told that the mitochondria does not regenerate itself because it's a totally different DNA
Right.
than the other person is. Now, how that connects, I'm not sure. So I'm just wondering if you've dealt with any mitochondrial disease?
Well, yes, I will tell you, have you ever heard of Terry Walls?
No.
So she is, I don't remember what type of physician. Do you know her?
But I don't know, I
she-
don't remember that either.
She has a book called Minding Your Mitochondria, and it's Walls, W-A-H-L-S. But she has a book called Minding Your Mitochondria, and she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And she went up to the Cleveland Clinic, and she got the best of the best care and everything that they had, and she was just degenerating. And she was in a tilt-recline wheelchair. Then she started looking more into nutrition, and she used nutrition. She changed her diet, and she tells about the diet that she ate. She started using meditation and CBD, and I think it was within like 9 months, or sometime less than a year of her doing this, and she was doing 10-mile bike rides. So she was out of the wheelchair.
10-mile bike ride.
10-mile bike rides.
You can find her. You can find her.
So she was able to fix that mitochondria degeneration with her nutrition, meditating, and CBD. Yes. Walls.
WAHLS. The Walls Protocol.
Terry Walls. There's a video I know that's called Minding Your Mitochondria as well that you can watch a clip about her book. And she tells the diet that she followed as well.
Anybody else? Well, I want to thank you very much for asking great questions, educating yourself. And again, as I said at the very beginning, the philosophy of Weston A. Price is that you teach, you teach, you teach. And we also learn. And as we learn, we teach. So please share this. I'm sure that I know a couple of you said too, there was people that couldn't come and you were willing to share the information. So please, do that. And again, if you have further questions, because I know sometimes we get, it's like drinking out of a fire hose. We get a lot of information. So I know sometimes questions come up at a later time, so please feel free to reach out. We're here to help and just, guide through that system. So.
And I also just wanted to throw out there that you can also go to the website of our company, whether you're interested in our specific product or not. But if you just go to zilis.com, there's like a science section that teaches about the endocannabinoid system and how CBD works within our bodies. There's a history section that tells about the history behind cannabis and hemp. So it's really the website itself is a really good resource to learn more if you're wanting more information. And you don't necessarily have to go to get our specific product, just get the education that you're looking for.
And there's also, we also have access to some doctors actually teaching about the endocannabinoid system too. So if that's something that you're interested in, all you have to do is let me know that too. I'm happy to share that too, because that's me. I start there and I go, okay, I want to educate myself
research.
to just do the education and to learn what this system is and how it affects every other system. So, but we have lots of great resources and so willing to share.
Yes.
So, but
we
thank
even
you.
sit down and have coffee and talk about it.
Absolutely.
That's how I educated her
Absolutely.
originally.
And I thank you again for everybody coming, and I wish you a safe evening and safe travels home.
Thank you.
Welcome, Krista. Yeah.